some of the best advocates he'd seen are not people who raise their voices. They are people who are very calm, composed and precise.
The law may be blind, but today's conversation is going to be eye-opening. And today's program is legal. You know why? Because we have Shravan with us, who is a law student, and he has completed Brighter Minds many years ago. Welcome, Shravan, to this brain court of Brighter Minds. And you have been a student of Brighter Minds and now you are pursuing law. So how do you feel this combo is?
First of all, thank you so much for having me here. And speaking about combos, of late we see a lot of combos on all these food delivery apps. We've got McDonald's Happy Meal, which has been so popular over the years. We've got Swiggy's next 50% off on some new combo.
we are attracted towards it, right?
Exactly. And I think that's something that catches our eye so regularly. But I think a combination that's very underrated is that of being a student along with having undergone training at Brighter Minds. I think the benefits of that combination are limitless, and that's something I'd really like to talk about today.
So what do you feel? What is law all about?
So before starting, with the requirements and what law really demands of the people studying it, I'd like to quote the famous character from this show called Suits, namely Harvey Specter. I think our audience would be very well versed with him. Yeah. So he once said, "Don't play the odds, play the man." And I think that is something that is a key feature of law that I'd want to focus on today, because there's a misconception. There are certain myths that I would like to debunk about the law. And the misconception is that law is all about memory, theory, mugging up, and it's just a straight set of facts.
There's this fat book and you have to memorize.
Exactly. So many acts, so many laws, Dhara 130 for example, it's not always about that. I think law is a lot about the human mind. As Harvey Specter said, when you're drafting an agreement, it is important to know who you're drafting it for, who is the other party, and what could be the possible events in the future with that party that you have to prevent or that you have to protect yourself from. So it's important to make it agreeable to the other person, but it's also important to foresee, to have that intuition and make it agreeable to yourself too. So I think that intuition, that foresight is something that's key in the law. Second most important is to be able to have that focus, to sit in one place and read, and not only read, say, a 4,000 page brief, but also to pay attention to the little details, to be able to identify and discriminate what is important and what is not, because you can't go to a judge with a 400 page document. So
he will throw you out.
Exactly. So no one has such time these days. So this is another thing, and I think the most important factor would be the ability to correlate. If for example, there's party X in a certain case and there's party Y and there's something that's happened between them. So, how does the law apply here? What are the circumstances of this case? I think law is a lot about understanding it like a story as well, because unless you understand what happened and what are the reasons it happened, you won't be able to apply the law. So, that application of law, the correlation with a certain clarity, I think that is where Brighter Mind comes in.
So don't only learn, you learn, but then you understand it properly, and then at the time you need to recall and then reproduce it in front of other person. The complete chain is
exactly. It's important to condense that information. And can you explain something like the law to a 5-year-old? That would be the real success of how you can do it. That is the way you're supposed to think. So, speaking about Brighter Minds, I think 3 key aspects of Brighter Minds are there that has really, that's really changed the way I go about things. I think first one it has always enhanced my memory. Second one being enhancing my intuition, and last one being it has sharpened my focus. I think these are the key factors of Brighter Minds, and Brighter Minds I've often thought is like sharpening the knife, which is our brain. And unless you sharpen it and clear all the clutter around the knife, it will not cut your object with precision. And I think that is that is the enabling feature of Brighter Minds that helps me enjoy law as a process. Recently, our former Chief Justice of India, Justice Sanjeev Khanna, at a recent gathering, he had stated that some of the best advocates he'd seen are not people who raise their voices. They are people who are very calm, composed and precise. Like an arrow. and very calmly. So I think whenever we are in a clutter, whether be it in arguments with parents or arguments with friends, whenever we
This is for children, right?
Exactly.
Don't raise your voice, understand what to say and how to convince your parents.
Exactly. I think the moment you have a lot going through your head, you be very emotive. You start raising your voice. Once again, that aspect of clarity is important. Like Justice Khanna said, if you can be a little calm and composed, it helps you exercise a presence of mind at that moment, because anything can happen. Sometimes the judge is going to be really in a bad mood. Maybe he didn't have good chai that day. So it is about understanding what is needed then, and for that you need a clear mind.
And Brighter Minds has given you that.
And I think that has been the enabling feature for me.
So from this conversation we can understand that you are enjoying your study in law. So what makes you enjoy this study?
I think I'd like to attribute this to the support I get from my parents, the constant support. I think the simple understanding is that as long as I give my 100% in whatever I'm doing, and I do everything I can to take care of all the controllables, and I enjoy the process, I know for a fact that my parents will always support me. So that actually gives me the freedom to go out there and express myself, and more often than not, I really enjoy doing that. So I'd once again just like to thank my parents. I think there's a very big role that your parents play in the way they support you, and you always know that if there's a failure or if there's a minor hiccup in what you're doing, that there's always going to be a hand there to support you. So you don't worry always on the fear of failure. You go out there and express yourself. And I think that's down to the support that I get from there, and hopefully this way of going about things will help me achieve great heights.
So for parents, support even when children are failing, and for children give your best. That's what combination you want.
I think that's a very complimentary feature.
So in today's life, when all of us are into 30 seconds reel, attention span has really gone down. Children are not at all interested in reading. What is one takeaway that you would like to share with our parents and also the children? I
think the simple answer, however tough it is to read and read for a start. I think be it if it's important, it plays a very different role when a parent sits down with a kid and reads, maybe it may be very simple for a start, say an Amar Chitra Katha, and then you can slowly evolve to bigger books.
Give picture books first, you are suggesting.
Yeah, I'm suggesting that we can start with something simple. If the kid is very small, it's important that the parent sits with the kid and goes through the book. I think that cultivates an interest. For example, when you meditate together, that's a whole different impact. I think when you read together initially to cultivate that interest, it's a whole new level of enthusiasm that the child gets when they realize the parent is in it as well. I understand that reels are a new part of our life, and to be very frank, when I was small I used to read a lot, and comparing that progress, yes, reels have affected me as well. I do get diverted. There are so many more distractions, and
so it happens with everyone.
Yes, right? I think it's a very natural thing to be into so many things, to be to succumb to the distractions that reels give you. But I think to just keep some time aside to read has benefits that one can not even conceive of in the short run. I think that, for instance, when I was there's something about reading and imagination. For instance, when I was in my 7th grade, I'm sure you'll all be aware of the Harry Potter series. So I used to be a very, very ardent fan. I still am of reading Harry Potter. I used to read it multiple times. I used to enjoy the description of characters, that Harry has long hair, he has messy hair, he has round glasses. So I'd imagined all of it in a certain way. But then when the movies came and when I saw the movies for the first time, I was so disappointed, because now the director had decided for me that this is Harry, this is how he will look, and it disappointed me that he was not how my imagination wanted him to be.
So imagination is fixed. Actually, it is skilled.
Exactly. Right? So I think that if you had read Harry Potter, you would have thought Harry to be very different. I remember having a conversation with my friend saying that this character of Harry Potter does not match with my imagination. But then she said, no, I think this is very true. So I think everyone builds a different story in their head.
And when they read.
Exactly. When you read, I think that makes a very different impact. You create a different world, and no two people's world will be the same.
So it gives wings to your imagination, which is very important to be creative for children.
Exactly. So I think, I know it is tough in today's day and age, but if it's not possible alone, maybe families should have a reading time. Everyone should sit together Reels are inevitable. They are a new part of communication. But I think to keep that aside at times and read, because I assure you, once you're into a book, no reel can distract you. And I think that is what helps me in law today, because I'm grateful that my parents were very supportive in terms of helping me read when I was a kid. So right now I'm able to sit in a place and enjoy my reading.
So create interest, so you find your ways how to read.
Create interest in reading is something that will always be an investment.
So thank you so much, Shravan. Thank you so much for coming here and being with us. We are grateful. Thank you so much.
Anytime. Thank you for having me here.